Okay, before we jump in, I want to let you know that these are the first 4 modules, the first 4 classes from my full course, How to Draft a Basic Bodice for Fashion Design, to see if this is right for you or not. These lessons will give you a solid foundation so you can actually start drafting a bodice the right way. So, let's get started. Hello everyone and welcome to How to Draft a Basic Bodice pattern from scratch using specific measurements. Hi, my name is Nino Villa and I'm your instructor. I've taken my previous courses in pattern making and draping and sketching, branding, and etc. So I'm not going to get into too much of my profile. I graduated from FIT in New York City. Worked in the industry for many years, and I was teaching at FIDM, the Fashion Institute in Los Angeles. And then fast forward, I'm now teaching online courses in fashion designing for you guys. So here we are. Who is this course for? Well, quite a large variety of students. Let me explain. If you're just starting out in fashion designing, this is the foundation, right, of pattern making. Pattern making is an essential technique and principles in designing. So this is the first step in creating a pattern, right? So if you're a student, a brand new student who's venturing into the world of fashion designing, this is definitely for you. Now, if you're a little more advanced and you do have patterns, and you say, well, you know, I know how to manipulate patterns, but I want to make clothes for myself. Then I'm going to teach you how to take specific measurements, right? And then thirdly, if you have a significant other, a sister, a friend, a client, a customer who wants to have you design a specific garment for her, then you need to take measurements of your customer. I'm going to show you how to do that. And lastly, if you are one of those students who's been asking me for years now how to take measurements and create your own patterns from scratch, well, this is definitely for you. So welcome. This whole process of measuring and transferring these measurements onto paper and all that, it's a very lengthy process, meaning it takes a long time. So obviously, I'm gonna break it into 4 or 5 minute videos so that you can easily digest the material. And remember, this is a video. If you don't get it the first time, pause, rewind, watch it again until it's perfect. Also, there's a lot of numbers, math. So be patient. It might be a little challenging trying to figure out, you know, what is half of 2 3/4 and all that. So just hang in there. I'll show you how to do all that stuff, okay? Okay, I'm going to show you how to take specific measurements. Now, if you're measuring a dress form, obviously I'll show you how to take specific measurements of your form. If you're measuring yourself, you might need an assistant or a friend to take measurements of yourself, because it might be challenging to measure certain side seams and shoulder seams and so on. So you might need somebody to help you measure yourself. And if you're measuring a customer, pretend that the form and the customer is one and the same. Again, I'm going to show you how to take measurements, what kind of measurements to take, and so on. And we'll need tools, right? The first thing you'll need, a tape measure, obviously. I'm going to show you how to use a tape measure to take specific measurements of the body, your body or her body. You'll need a pencil, and for the purpose of this exercise, I might use a marker because it's a little darker and it's easier to see when I'm drafting on paper. And speaking of paper, I'm going to use what's used in the industry. We use this kind of paper. It's called dotted paper. It has numbers or dots or a combination of both makes it easier to find right angles and square lines and so on. But if you can't find it, don't worry. It's basically paper. Fabric stores usually carry dotted paper. A ruler. This is a see-through ruler. You can see through it. And it'll help you in measuring and drafting patterns. Also, it bends. See, it's flexible. So it's easier to use a flexible ruler if you're measuring, say, a circular shape like an armhole, for example. A French curve. French curves are used primarily for armhole. If you don't, there are variations of French curves. Also, this is a hip curve, which I've used in my other classes. And if you notice, if I place these two, the French curve that I have and the hip curve, the two are the same shape for part of the French curve. So you can use this as well. All right, so these are the basic tools that you'll need to measure and draft your basic bodice, okay? I'm going to show you how to draft a front bodice, back bodice, and a front skirt and a back skirt. And if you're interested in a sleeve, I have a course specifically on sleeves. I highly recommend that you take the course. It does show you how to draft a basic sleeve from scratch, again, using specific measurements. And it's not just a basic sleeve. There's bell sleeves and puff sleeves and short sleeves with gathers and all fancy sleeves and so on. So take that course. Now, in that course, there's charts for different sizes, meaning if you're working with a size 4 form, right, then you'll use size 4 measurements to draft the sleeve to match the bodice of a size 4 form. Makes sense, right? But if you need to make it bigger or smaller, that is a process called grading. Okay, I'm not going to do any grading right now in this course. That's not about grading. We're not going to touch grading right now. I will include a miniature video on a general concept of grading a size 4 bodice to a size 6, size 8, size 10, and so on. I'll show you a little principle on how that works. All right, so let's get started with measuring our dress form or our customer or yourself. Okay, so we're going to start by taking certain measurements of the body. And we're going to start, I'm going to measure this dress form. This is a size 4 dress form. We're going to start by measuring certain parts. And after all this is done, we're going to end up with a pattern that looks like this. This is a one dart bodice sloper, okay? And we're going to use this one dart to create a fitted bodice. We can then manipulate the dart in different directions or eliminate it and so on. So we're going to start by measuring what is known as HPS. If you see the letters HPS, it stands for high shoulder point. High shoulder point. It is this corner right here where the shoulder meets the neckline. It is the highest point on the body. I'm going to start by taking your tape measure, measuring it over the bust to my waistline. If you have a tape on your form, the bottom of the tape is your waistline. So in my case, it measures 17 inches. So the first measurement that I have is 17 inches. I'm going to label this measurement AB. So I'm going to use this paper, this board, and this dotted paper. You will use your table and your paper on your table. So I'm going to take this measurement, 17 inches, and draw a straight line measuring 17 inches, which is right there. Okay? So I'm going to label this A and B. Okay, next I'm going to measure across the shoulder right here. I'm going to take my tape measure from the center front neckline corner. I'm going to take my tape measure and measure across to where the shoulder starts, where the shoulder rim starts. And in my case, it is 6.5 inches. So that would be measurement number 2 is 6.5 inches, right? So now I'm gonna take my ruler, come across from A and measure 6.5 inches across, which is right there, okay? So we have A, B, and now we're going to create AC. This is AC. How do I get that? Well, we have A and B, and then we have A and C. So A, B, C, right? So that's C right there. And I'm also going to square off a line, a few inches, 3-4 inches, as a guideline. You'll see why in a second. Okay, our third measurement is our center front. That's fairly simple. We'll take our tape measure from the neckline down center front to the waistline. In my case, it measures 14.25. And that's the third measurement. So that's measurement number 3 is 14.25. Okay? So from your B cross mark, we're going to measure up 14.25. And in my case, 14.25 is right here. Right there. And that is, so we have A, B, C. Guess what? That is D. So I'm going to mark this D. Okay? All right, so far so good. Okay, next we're going to measure our bust, placing our tape measure from center front across the bust to the side seam. And in my case, it measures 9.5. So 9.5, that's our next measurement. Measurement number 4 is 9.5. And now watch this. I'm gonna place that measurement here at the bottom. I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute, that's not the bust. The bust is here somewhere. Trust me. Trust the process. It'll work out. So I'm gonna take 9.5 from B. You're gonna go across 9.5, and it's right there. And also square a line about 10-11 inches or so, like that. It's a guideline. You'll see why in a minute. So we got A, B, C, D. This is E. And we have E, all right? So this is E. Okay, there you go. So if this video resonated with you, I encourage you to enroll in the full course on Fashion Premier Academy. I'll put the link in the description below, and I will see you in class.